That is the most heartbreaking thing ever. Oh my gosh. I bet hair and makeup hated that. I can't. I could actually cry right now. I mean, would we start any other way? Hello and welcome or welcome back. My name is Kayla. I'm a Canadian actress based in Toronto. And for today's video, we are taking a look at Kate Winslet, who sat down with Vanity Fair to discuss some of her roles. Kate Winslet has been nominated for an Oscar 7 times and actually won the Oscar for her role in The Reader. I, of course, know Kate Winslet from Titanic. I remember being obsessed. It's one of the movies that I remember rewatching probably way too many times. She is somebody who also has spoken very honestly about how she was treated very negatively by the media at the beginning of her career and how that has shaped the way she navigates her career today. I think that's enough of an introduction. Let's get into the video.
Hi, I'm Kate Winslet, and I am going to watch some scenes from throughout my career. Right, here we go.
Of course. I mean, would we start any other way? Such an iconic film. Also, OGs will know, who remembers having to watch Titanic on 2 VHS films?
Hello, Jack. Oh, my lordy.
The music from Titanic fills me with so much emotion. Ugh.
This might be really cringe. See, I look at that and I just see how much I couldn't breathe in that bloody corset.
They said you might be up here.
Oh, this was a nightmare, shooting this. Because Leo couldn't stop laughing, and we had to reshoot this about 4 times because the light was, Jim wanted a very specific light for this, obviously, and the sunsets kept changing where we were. This was a section of the ship. It wasn't part of the actual whole ship set that we had. It was a little sort of sawn off bit. We had to climb up a ladder to get to it. I remember it was sort of, hair and makeup couldn't reach us. Now, what you wouldn't know, because Leo looks completely natural, but he had to lie on sunbeds. There's a lot of fake tan makeup going on. So I have got hidden in here and here. I've got his makeup and brushes and sponge, and my makeup and brushes and sponge in the other side. And between takes, I was basically redoing our makeup.
Well, I bet hair and makeup hated that. Before the director calls action, they do something called finals, which is where hair, makeup, wardrobe, everybody pretty much comes in and looks you up and down and makes sure that you're suitable for filming. They make sure that you look your best and also making sure that there's no crazy changes from take to take. I would love to hear how hair and makeup felt about that.
He's quite the romancer, isn't he? No wonder every young girl in the world wanted to be kissed by Leonardo DiCaprio. It was not all its...
Yeah, it's me. I'm said young girl. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio is actually my first childhood crush. So yeah, Titanic was a hard watch for me.
So we kept doing this kiss, and I have a lot of pale makeup on, and I would have to do our makeup checks, me, on both of us, between takes. And I would end up looking as though I had been sucking a caramel chocolate bar after each take, because his makeup would come up on me, and he just looked like there was a bit missing from his face because there was this big pale bit from all my makeup getting onto him. Oh God, it was such a mess. I do feel very proud of it because I feel that it is that film that just keeps giving. You know, whole other generations of people are discovering the film or seeing it for the first time, and there's something extraordinary about that. Doesn't mean that people don't get me to try and reenact this every time I'm on a flipping boat, which does my head in.
Oh, really?
Every time, without fail.
And you do it?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Oh, this is one of my favorite movies ever. These kind of films just tickle my brain. Kate Winslet's character is so good, and Jim Carrey gives one of his best performances, which is Canadian. Just saying. We've got lots of talent. But yeah, highly, highly suggest this film. If you have not seen it, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
At forgotten how good I look with the blue hair. I look good with blue hair. They were all wigs, because we had to change them. You know, sometimes I'd start the day and we'd have a scene where I had orange hair, and then in the afternoon it would be green, and then maybe back to orange before the end of the day. Like, it just, the way that it was scheduled, they had to be wigs. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have been impossible.
Something I will say, TV and film wigs from the early 2000s were so good. I don't know what they're doing now, but I find that you can almost always spot a wig in film and TV nowadays. But back in the early 2000s, they were so good. Given how often her hair color changed in this film, yeah, it makes sense. But those were some pretty good wigs.
Quite a lot of this was improvised. I remember that there just wasn't much dialogue written on the page, so we just added stuff. It was extremely cold. Just all of the stuff about the ice, you know, slidey, slidey, it's not going to break, it's so thick this time of year. All of that's all improvised and added. And him saying, oh no, I think I should go back. It was mostly improvised, actually.
I think I should go back. Huh?
Come on.
What if it breaks?
With Eternal Sunshine, everything about it was not what I expected it to look like, because Michel Gondry is such an avant-garde director and he's very experimental, and none of us could have ever known how the film was going to look, what it was going to feel like, how it was all going to come together. The shoot was quite bonkers in how experimental it was and fast-paced it was, and things would often happen that weren't part of the plan, or we'd end up shooting in the snow when it wasn't meant to be snowing. I mean, and we would just adapt the scene to whatever was going on that day. Oh, there wasn't any prep for this scene because we didn't know what to expect. We got there and it really was a very thick frozen river. Most of the prep was in just hiding sort of hot packs and layers of thermal clothing underneath our costumes, because it was absolutely freezing, and trying not to shiver whilst saying dialogue, trying to relax yourself as much as possible.
The weather is always such a topic of discussion, especially when you're doing an outdoor shoot. Really, really cold days and really, really hot days are the worst. The worst. There's always a debate on which one is worse, and honestly, they both suck. Because on one hand, you're super cold and trying not to show that you're shaking, and on the other hand, you're super sweaty and trying to look natural, and in some films, pretty, and yeah, they both suck.
Show me which constellations you're in.
Such an iconic shot. It does actually kind of make me think too about a lot of the films that I love, that I really enjoy, are experimental and take risks. And with the direction that the industry is going, I worry that those kind of films won't be made as often. With studios relying so heavily on formulas to make their films, they have everything down, including marketing, including trailer, all that stuff. They already know how to get people to come see that movie. When a movie is so different, these kind of strange and unique films usually aren't really blockbuster hits. They're more so, they're films that the fans find them later on. I would hate to see the day where filmmakers don't take risks and don't want to. I shouldn't even say don't want to, because it's not that they don't want to. It's the ones who have the money and the power are kind of not letting. But I think good art should take risks, and good art sometimes is uncomfortable and sometimes is out of the box and different. And yeah, it all kind of scares me.
This is a scene that does stick out in my mind as being a lot of fun. That particular night shoot was fun. I love doing night shoots, actually. I always sort of feel like I'm going to work and I've got a secret or something. It's a great feeling. Now, I remember thinking, oh God, we're going to be putting a whole film crew on this ice. And no, they'd been monitoring the ice, and experts had told us it was safe. But you do hear like a sort of a cracking noise when it's sort of cracking at the very deeper part.
Ooh, that would freak me out.
But this was about 14 inches thick, so there was no way it was going to crack.
The Holiday. Who watches The Holiday every year? Leave a comment down below.
Come and tell me all about your Christmas presents.
She's so beautiful, gosh. The fact that she was considered frumpy because she was called fat. It is so disturbing, honestly, seeing kind of the pendulum swing back to women like Kate Winslet being considered fat is just disgusting. Say it with me. This could be a video on its own. The way women are treated and seen and pulled apart. It's also really disheartening because for a little bit there, it kind of looked like times were changing and real people were allowed to just exist, and to see us kind of start coming full circle back to the way it was is really horrifying. Yeah.
One of our only days where we were all together, of course, on this shoot, because my part of the story takes place in England and separately to the Cameron character's story. Oh, we all just had such a giggle. It was all just great fun. They're all lovely people. And Cameron's whole thing ever in life is, how can I have the most fun possible? So she's constantly laughing, she's constantly joking. And Jack, of course, he just does something different every take, which is eternally refreshing. And for something like this was very, very good, because with romantic comedy, things do have to remain fairly scripted, because so much of it is about the comedic timing and how it's shot. And the rhythm is, and the cadence to everything is quite important. And so there wasn't much room to sort of add things spontaneously, but Jack would always find a way to slip something in. And I was always really grateful for that, especially with something like this where everyone's having to, pretend it's Christmas. So actually Jack was brilliant at kind of adding things, and he was brilliant with those little girls. So that was fun. It kept it fun, which is what it was meant to be. I would love to work with Jack again and again and again. So my on-set nickname to this day is K-Dub. People just call me K-Dub, and he started it. Jack started it, and that is my name. Everyone just calls me, at work, everyone calls me K-Dub. Although I will tell you that all of the interiors of that beautiful English country cottage were studio builds in Los Angeles, which is devastating to everyone who hears that. And the cottage itself, that picture postcard perfect chocolate box jigsaw puzzle cottage, it was just a shell. It was just a facade. It was just the sides, the front, and a roof. And every time I'd go through that door into the cottage, I'd be standing in a bunch of rubble surrounded by scaffolding, old Coke cans thrown on the ground, bits of old chewing gum.
I can't. I could actually cry right now. That is the most heartbreaking thing ever. Oh my gosh. See, this is why sometimes movie magic can just stay movie magic. To hear that was a set. Let's just move on. This is a really good show. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend.
Oh god, I can't even watch it. Oh fuck. Oh god, I can't even watch it.
I was dreading shooting this scene because the triggers that I created for myself in playing this character and in concealing all of that grief they were just so real for me. And I was absolutely dreading shooting this.
Oh, I have chills. That's hard. But watching her reaction to that scene, to that work, seeing that it still brings up emotion, I mean, that just shows how deeply she went into that character. Her talking about the triggers. She said, the triggers that I made for myself. That is a technique that actors use to bring up the right emotions, to make sure they're in the right frame of mind to be able to do the work that they have to do. Sometimes people can use personal triggers, which is where they use actual instances or real life situations they've been in. I remember in the Mikey Madison and Pamela Anderson actors on actors conversation, Mikey talked about how she had this voicemail from her dad, and that voicemail would help her get in the right state she needed to be in. Some actors don't need a personal trigger at all. They can literally just make up a story and be there and truthfully be there, truthfully be feeling those feelings, and they can fully believe it. Some actors rather do that because they find it too difficult to use actual real life situations to kind of open up those wounds. So it really has to do with preference and whatever works for you. Every actor is completely different, and whatever technique they use is so personal.
Hanging from one of the beams, he'd gotten a tow rope from the garage.
Oh, fuck.
I cut him down.
That particular sequence of running into the house, because I hurt my toe and I was limping. So we got that twice, thank God. And then the little piece when we are inside the house, that was a separate time. That was interior studio, actually. The dummy that had been made that was exactly the physicality of the actor who was actually playing Kevin in the flashback sequences, so that it was just awful. And we had a camera up there obviously looking down at me, because we have that angle, that down angle where I fall, well, like where I sort of collapse. They were just brilliant. They just kept as much to one side as they could, so that I didn't see them at all. I just saw the dummy hanging and the camera itself. I didn't see the operator or the focus puller, which was enormously helpful.
Ugh. Watching her still break during this, to have to go through what her character is going through, you see it as she's watching this, her body is just reacting, right?
And that was filmed about a month after the exterior part of the scene. And then a couple of months later, we shot this part.
I'm so sorry. Do you still live in the same house?
I was almost trying to charge myself up with as many distractions as possible, so that when I had to sit and say these words, that I would feel shocked by saying them, and that they would feel fresh in my head, and that it would be something that was springing into my body, I suppose, in the moment that I had to play it out. And it was just awful. It was awful.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges of acting, making the words that you're saying sound like they're not scripted. Humans talk in a very spontaneous manner, right? They say things based off of other things that people have said. They go off of kind of body language and instinct, and acting is the same thing, but you do have lines you have to say. So to make it feel like those lines are just coming to your mind right then and there, it's a challenge, but I mean, that's part of the fun.
The emotion of this whole sequence, it was so embedded in me, actually, that I had to just sustain it across the entire time of playing the character, because what had happened to her with her son defines who she is and how she is with people every single day of her life. And so it was the main thrust of the character, really. And as you can see, hard to shake.
Yeah. If you are an actor, if this is something you want to do, something I think you really need to invest in and really prioritize is your emotional hygiene. Emotional hygiene is something that I think is a necessity for an actor, especially if you're playing these really hard, raw characters with these really emotionally draining storylines. Some of the pitfalls that younger actors especially can fall into is almost getting addicted and wrapped up into these horrible, horrible feelings that you have to put yourself through as an actor, and it can be really dangerous. Your body doesn't know the difference between acting and actually going through these situations. The reason why it feels so real when you're in the moment and you're doing what you need to do to be able to show these big feelings is because your body is going through it. You really are feeling those deep emotions. And sometimes you'll find for some people, it's the only time that they're able to fully feel and process these emotions that they might be going through. And because of that, if you aren't taking care of yourself, if you aren't in a safe place to begin with, it can be dangerous, especially if what you're using to put you in those places are real life situations. Now, I'm not saying don't use real things that you've gone through. If that works for you, that works for you, and that's good. There is this personality type that is drawn to this work, and I mean, I will say, I'm fully speaking from experience, right? There's a reason why I do love doing this stuff and why I am drawn to certain characters. It's never worth it to torture ourselves for these characters. It doesn't make your art any less good. It doesn't make your work any less good. And if you're able to take care of yourself, the healthier you are, the more great art you can make, and the longer you can keep at it. Pretty much if you want to be an actor, I would invest in a really good therapist. Yeah.
So what they did, so that they could get the physicality of me climbing up onto her fin and sitting there and putting my hands on something, someone had taken a foam noodle and just bent it in the shape of an eye and zip-tied it onto the metal grill. So that was what I was acting to create that sequence. And I do remember thinking, this is never going to work. I'm sure this is dreadful. And of course it works because Jim Cameron is a genius.
Where we've come, where we are now, the state at which we are at with video game acting now is just crazy to think about how much it has developed and how intricate and just, yeah, it's magic. It's way more difficult, with regular acting. I mean, you're in hair and makeup, you're in a costume, you're on a set. All of these pieces help you with motion capture. It's all in your head. You have to really picture it and see it and be there.
There are moments where I can't see myself at all, and then others when I really can. I think my mouth looks very much like my own mouth. So it's certain expressions Sam makes where I can really see Sam. And Zoe, again, it's her mouth. There's something about her mouth and how she hangs her head is very like Zoe. It was absolutely amazing working with Jim Cameron again. I think we're both such different people, really, since Titanic. It's such a long time ago. He just covers everything from a million angles. There are actual cameras there, probably about 22 actual cameras in the room. Then there are rigged cameras in the roof, capturing everything. And so you can be extremely free. So that's it from me. We're done. This torture has finally come to an end. And if I wasn't afraid of breaking something, I would probably throw this remote at that television and smash it, but I won't. I'll just turn it off.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Man, she is just so talented. It's ridiculous. I learned a lot. Although, I will say, I didn't need to know about that cottage in the holiday. That didn't need to be told. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.